And welcome into Making Sense. Well, there's good news and bad news. The bad news, we're getting a little bit older. Maybe some of the good news is some taxes and some fees that you've had to pay during life, they can diminish as you start to get a little bit older. We got with us today Brandt McDonald, McDonald Hagen Wealth Management. And Brandt, you know, we hit these, you know, when we start the show, we got this clock, 50, 60, 70, 80. And some things can happen to us too as far as taxes and even fees that we pay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But you know, when we start talking about taxes and fees, it's like the ground shifts under you, because every year
yes.
it can change. It's
Absolutely.
a moving target. We don't know. And so from my perspective, being in the planning world and portfolio management, wow, I mean, every year you have to really pay close attention to what's going on. But you're absolutely right. At every sort of stage of life, you know, when we did a little bit of a review of our clientele, which we're very blessed and fortunate. We have a lot of great people that we work with, but 78% of our clients are between the ages of 55 and 85. And it's been that way for a long time, and it's getting more so as we move through time. The baby boomers continue to age, and it's really, really interesting. We were discussing off air, as a matter of fact, about the tendencies of how people change throughout life, and we've got a lot of empirical data at our firm in terms of what happens as we move through life. And most people obviously retire or try to retire around that 65-year-old range, and we do an analysis on the tax implications and their liquidity and overall allocation to various risk asset classes. And we try to establish these glide paths through life in terms of cash flows, and they move from wealth accumulation in life to wealth preservation / distribution.
Right.
And it's really interesting, because what happens is from 65 to 70, typically they'll withdraw a little bit because they're a little nervous about retirement, and they start to clamp down on their budget. And then they realize things are not so bad, it might be okay. And there's a window there, and it's a fine line, you know, between the age of, say, 68 and 70 to 80. And this is what a lot of people don't think about. For that 10 to 12 year period is the time that you need to be living. Because when you get to that 80 to 90, you can't do a lot of the things that you thought you could do or that you had been doing. And you're pretty much sitting at home, and then the budget really comes down. So in terms of our planning, we've tried to fine tune it a little bit. Instead of just saying, oh, I need this much per month for the rest of my life. Well, that's not a bad exercise.
Right.
But the reality is that spending is totally different. I mean, that from the 68 to 70 to age 80 years, that's the critical time when, you know, every year at the end of the year, we sit down with our clients and we do these reviews. And the thing that's so fun is that we're able to establish a budget for the next year and say, hey, you know, if you want to take the family on a cruise for $20,000 or $30,000, is there enough in the portfolio that we could withstand that? And so when we do the exercise, we either say, you know what, yes, you can, but we would prefer it be around the 15 to 20 range or the 20 to 25, or it could be, well, yeah, you've got plenty of room, and oh, by the way, you could do some stuff for Christmas too, or whatever for the grandkids. The great thing about that is that when they go home, they've got peace of mind. They know that it's a decision that's been well vetted, very much thought through from a mathematical perspective, not an emotional perspective.
Right.
And that's a critical thing. And so to your point, though, with taxes and all the other, the great thing about the annual reviews, we sit down and we can upload or input all of the new legislative items that may have come down from the local level with property taxes, as you mentioned, to medical changes in the law and Medicare, which is a big issue. Obviously, the Blue Cross Blue Shield situation that's just recently happened. So all of these things are directly impacting our clients as they move through life. And that's the fun part, is every year sitting down and really tightening the screws on the plan, going through all of these significant issues and trying to bring peace of mind to people. And I think a lot of times what happens is most retirees sort of glide through and they get a little gripped because there's so much information on the web and everywhere else, they don't know what's real and what's not. Not to mention volatile markets and zero interest rates where they don't have anywhere to go to generate income to subsidize. I mean, you know, it can be a scary time.
It's under the mattress. It's going to stay there, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but all in all, I think it'll be interesting to see as we round up this year, particularly after the presidential election, and we can clearly see then all the tax law changes that may or may not be coming. The year-end reviews this year are going to be pretty interesting for sure.
Good. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here this past couple of weeks. Always good information.
I appreciate
and just remember this, if you're going to be thinking about retirement, remember that there are some what we want to call the real active years that you can be in retirement, and then there's going to be those years you can kind of sit back in that rocking chair. Make sure you got enough money for whatever you want to do, and we'll be right back right after this.